going to talk about the biggest mistakes I've seen buyers make so that you don't make them.
You better get fired up.
What's going on? Happy Monday. It's good to see you guys on What's Hot. We're here every single Monday at 11 o'clock, and where we talk about the hottest things in the market. And right now, I'm seeing a lot of buyers making mistakes, right? I probably do 75% listings, 25% buyers. So a lot of the mistakes that I'm seeing are on my listings, and it can cause you to lose a deal. It can cause you to get a deal, but it's not with the terms you thought you had, or you just hadn't really considered the terms. A lot of different scenarios where buyers are saying, oh my gosh, I wish I knew about this, or I wish I thought about this, or I wish I was educated on this before I had made my offer. And now hopefully I can share this with you for when you make your offer, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is your closing date. A lot of people are thinking so much about the price that they forget a lot of the terms. And one of the big terms is the date that you're actually going to close. They're not considering, is it a Monday? And that means I now own a home all week, and maybe you work all week, so you're not able to, nor do you have the time to move in throughout the week. So you own the home for a whole week and you're not even able to get into it, right? A lot of buyers who think about this will close on a Friday, which allows them to get out of work a little bit early, maybe close at 12, 1 o'clock after lunch. Then they get Saturday and Sunday to move all their stuff in, and they've got a really good head start before they got to head back to work on Monday. Now, for some people, they're retired or they don't work or whatever it is, it's not a big deal. Totally fine, right? Others will be in leases, and all of a sudden we'll get them into a contract and they'll call freaking out because, oh my gosh, we close on the 15th, but our lease is over on the 13th. We're going to be homeless for a couple days. What do we do? And in a lot of those circumstances, we can move the closing date around. But in some of those circumstances, we can't. In some circumstances, my seller specifically took your offer because that closing date worked with when their next home is closing, or their new construction home is going to be done, or their lease in another state is starting. So by asking what you think is a simple question, because you're looking at your perception only, may be a really challenging thing for that seller to do, meaning they might say no. And a lot of times, unless you've got a contingency that's protecting you, you might not have a way to force it. You might have no leverage, and you have to just kind of be homeless for a couple days, right? Now, there are solutions to all these things. We can find solutions to everything. It's just the solutions are painful. They're inconvenient. They're uncomfortable. So if we can think about some of these things ahead of time, and we can literally think, okay, how is that move going to occur? When am I going to have to start packing up my stuff? How much time is it going to take me? Do I need help? Am I paying I can't even say it, for professionals, or am I asking some friends to come help me? What if one of these things falls apart? What's that timeline going to look like? How long is it going to take me to physically move there? If I'm moving from the state of Washington to the state of Florida, well, that might be 3-4 days of driving, right? So if I close on a Monday and I know I'm not going to get there, if I close on Monday, but I'm leaving on Thursday, well, it's okay that I'm homeless for 3 or 4 days, because it's going to take me that long to drive down with my U-Haul anyway. But if I literally live a mile or two down the street, I might need the same day closing. So really think about what that timeline looks like to make sure or ensure that it's going to work out for you, right? Number 2, not running your numbers. And the 2 big numbers, which, they've got a bunch of things inside of them, are the cash that you need at closing and the monthly payment that you're going to be paying for the next 30 years. Okay. Those are the 2 numbers you want to make sure that you've got. So cash for closing, that's your down payment plus your closing costs. Okay. But in addition to that, you're going to have to pay for an inspection. An inspection can be $300, $400, $500, depending upon what different things you want with your inspection. And then your down payment is probably going to be 3 to 5%. It could be more, it could be less. If you're VA, it could be 0%. If you are FHA, it's probably going to be 3.5%. If you're conventional, a lot of times it's 5, unless you're a first-time home buyer, then it could be as low as 3. But you could opt to put 10, 15, 20% down as well. Whatever that number is, you should know that before you put your offer in, because you've discussed it with your lender. You're going to have to discuss it with your realtor, because they got to put it on page 1 of your offer. And now that's one portion of what I need to bring to closing, right? But there's a second portion. It's called your closing costs. And your closing costs are made up of a lot of different costs. And I usually tell people to figure about 3.5%, 3.75% of the price in closing costs. Now, that can change too. Like, who's paying for title? Well, if you're paying for title, it's going to increase a little bit. If you are at a lower price, just because some of those are flat costs and some are percentages, it's going to be higher. If you're at a higher, say $800,000-900,000, maybe it's going to be 3% of your sales price, right? So figuring that in and doing the math so you've got a good estimate. And listen to your realtor. If you're tight on numbers, your realtor can sit down with title, they can sit down with your lender, they can crunch all these numbers out, they can get a pretty accurate depiction of where you're going to be. But that's a number you're going to want to know, right? The monthly is your second big number. And that monthly is primarily made up of 5 different numbers, right? Potentially. You've got your principal and your interest on your mortgage, and that's something your lender can easily tell you. And honestly, if you know you're doing a 30-year loan and you know what your mortgage rate is, you can look it up online. You can figure that out. You don't have to be overly intelligent to figure out what your monthly payment's going to be, right? But seriously, just lean on your lender. They can get it for you. Your insurance, and that's when a lot of people fall through on. Man, when you know you're interested in something, all it takes is a simple phone call to an insurance agent or 2 or 3, and you can get 2 or 3 quotes. And now you know, okay, here's roughly where we're going to be on the monthly. You just take that premium for the year, divide it by 12, and there's your monthly. Add that to it, right? Your next one is taxes. Now, taxes are tricky, okay? Because taxes, this year, taxes might be $5,000. But that home might be assessed for a really small number because it was purchased a long time ago. It's got what's called, is it Save My Home? Save My Home, 3% annual caps on increases, right? The amount that you can be taxed on. And now when you buy it, that amount that can be taxed is going to go up dramatically. So you're paying on $5,000 this year, but next year, maybe it's $8,000, $9,000. Really ask your realtor. And I would say go even further, call the appraiser's office. They do have an estimator. It'll give you a rough estimate. But if you tell them the price, they can run the exact numbers for you. And they can say, hey, if we're paying the same in taxes next year as we're paying this year, this is what you would be paying. And that's going to be pretty doggone close. Now, you will get a homestead exemption, assuming it's your primary residence. That's going to reduce your taxable amount by $50,000. And there's different exemptions you might apply for, but you can share that with the appraiser's office, and they'll be able to get you a very accurate depiction of what you're going to pay after January 1st. But that is a big surprise for a lot of people, especially if you're buying new construction. Maybe the taxes on that lot are $400 or $500, but then when you actually close on your $600,000 home, whoa, all of a sudden I'm paying $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 in taxes. I wasn't ready for all that. Well, be ready by making the phone call, right? So that's the 4th thing. The 5th thing is an HOA monthly fee, right? And that's obviously only if you're in an HOA. And if you aren't an HOA, all you got to do is call and ask what that HOA fee is. Now, in some HOAs, and I'll use Tradition as a great example, I'm in Bedford Park, which falls under Tradition. So I got to pay Tradition roughly $200 a month, and I got to pay Bedford Park, I think it's $268 a month. So my total payment is somewhere between $450 and $500 a month. You want to know what that is and add it in so that you're completely comfortable with all 5 of those added up as your monthly payment. If you're not, you need to bring the budget down. I'm telling you, I can't tell how many people have been approved for this, but because they like to do, maybe they go out more, maybe they travel more, whatever, which is all fine. You should have a budget down here for your housing, but they don't look at it. They just say, this is what I got approved for. Banker knows best. I'm going to do it. All of a sudden they get that mortgage payment. They're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Run your numbers, guys. Okay. Number 3, and this is the biggest pet peeve in the world for me, and it takes all the professionalism in the world to keep my mouth shut when I hear this. But when you have put an offer in as a buyer, and there's a good like the listing agent has come back and said, hey, maybe we've got better offers, stronger offers. Hey, this might be a little insulting to the seller. Do you want to change this? Or, hey, we said this is a must on the closing date or on personal property or whatever it is. And you don't want to bend. Buyers will say, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And I think, oh my gosh, when you have cancer and you're not fully in control of what's going on, I agree 100%. If it's meant to be, it'll happen, right? But when you're in full control, you're writing the doggone offer. You know your numbers. You know what you can do. You know your motivation. If it's meant to be, you will make it happen. That's the correct ending to that statement. If it's meant to be, I will make it happen. All right. Now, that doesn't mean you need to come in 5, 10, 15 grand higher. It doesn't mean you got to move the closing date to what the seller wants. It doesn't mean that you can't negotiate the couch. It just means you need to be okay with them saying, get lost. We took another offer. Your response shouldn't be, oh my gosh, I wish we would have come higher. Your response needs to be, hey, we put in a calculated offer. We thought about what we wanted to do. I wouldn't have come in another 5-10 grand higher. I'm glad somebody else got it. If you're saying that, great. But I can't tell you how many buyers I will say, hey, listen, the value is this. You're coming in here and they're telling you they've got another offer. The odds of you losing is very good. Do you want to reconsider your offer? If it's meant to be, it'll happen. And I always say, untrue. Right now, you are influencing the fact that there's a good chance it won't happen. And you can also influence the fact that it could happen, but you've got to put some effort in here. Now, if they don't, that's okay. But what's frustrating is when they lose, they freak out and say, oh my gosh, I wish we would have come higher. What were we thinking? Blah, 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 blah. So this isn't a nudge for you to come in high. This is a nudge for you to really consider your motivation, really consider that home, right? If you're not picky and, hey, we looked at 8 homes and I would have bought 3 of them, cool. Try to negotiate. If it doesn't work, go on home 2. If it doesn't work, go to home 3. You got 3 of them and you only went out once. You'll be fine. But that's not most people. Most people, we go out, we look at 8 homes. There's 7 that are okay, or I don't like them. And there's 1 that is head and shoulders above everything else. That's what I usually see. And in that case, I always say, if we lose this home and you have to go back to another home, and yes, we can go look at more, but we didn't just pick 8 random houses. We looked at the best 8, right? We looked with all the qualifications, the photos, the updates, the roof age, the AC age, the amenities, the square footage. We picked the 8 best. So we go look at another 8. It's not going to be any 8. It's going to be the 9th through 16th best. Okay. So if we're not going to go after that 1, are you okay losing it over $5,000, $10,000 and having to go to number 2 or continue renting? If your answer is, yeah, I'm okay with it, good. If it's not, reconsider and doggone it, get rid of that phrase, man. Again, if you've got something you have 0 control of, I have no problem with. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. But if you have control, get that out of your vernacular. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully that helps you in your next offer. If you guys have any questions that you'd like me to follow up with in the future, something in the real estate market that you're seeing trending, or you've got questions about how it's trending, feel free to put it down in the comments, and we're happy to touch on that in next week's What's Hot video. Guys, thanks for joining me. We're here every single Monday at 11. We'll see you next week. Take care.